Here's a number that stopped me in my tracks. Nearly 1 in 3 homeowners say they've been surprised by a major repair bill they never saw coming. Something that wasn't flagged during the home buying process, wasn't on their radar, and cost them thousands of dollars after they closed. And what's worse, a lot of those surprises aren't new problems. They were sitting right there in the yard, in the ground, or on the property line, hiding in plain sight. Today, I want to talk about 3 of them. Not the obvious stuff like the roof or the HVAC. Everyone talks about those, but I'm talking about 3 things that most agents never bring up, most buyers never ask about, and most sellers never think to address. And all 3 of them have the power to do 2 things: shock you with a massive repair bill, and in some cases, actually stop your financing dead in its tracks. Hi, I'm Rhonda with Comey and Shepherd Realtors here in the Cincinnati and Dayton areas of Ohio, and I've been helping buyers and sellers navigate this market for over 11 years. This is the stuff I talk to my clients about that most people never hear until it's too late. So let's get into it. First, trees. You may be thinking, oh, so what? It's a tree. We'll have it taken down. Because it's something you look at every single day without thinking twice about it. Yes, trees. Now, I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with trees. Yes, they provide shade. They can be beautiful. They add curb appeal. But in my 11 years of working with buyers and sellers, trees are one of the most consistently underestimated sources of real estate problems I see, and here's why. They're slow-moving problems, a crack in a wall, you notice it, a roof that's failing, your inspector catches it, but a tree, it just quietly grows year after year, and the problem it creates grow with it. Let me give you some numbers that put this in perspective. A silver maple tree, one of the most common trees you'll find here in Ohio, can grow 2 to 3 feet per year. A weeping willow can add 3 to 8 feet per year and reach maturity in just 10 to 15 years. A tree that looked perfectly manageable when a family bought their home 15 years ago could now be massive, overhanging the roof, sending roots toward the foundation, or pushing up the sidewalk. So what specifically should buyers and sellers be looking for? Number 1, overhanging branches. If tree limbs hang over the roof of the home, that's a liability and a potential insurance issue. Limbs that rub the roof cause shingle damage over time. Falling branches can damage the roof in a storm. And here's the one that catches people off guard. Insurance companies are increasingly flagging roof overhang during their property reviews. Some insurers will not renew a policy or require trimming or removal as a condition of continued coverage. If a buyer applies for homeowners insurance and the insurer raises a flag on tree overhang, that can delay or complicate closing. Professional tree trimming runs $200 to $700 depending on size. A full removal of a large tree, one over maybe 80 feet, can cost $1,000 to $2,000 for just straightforward removals, and up to $5,000 or more for emergency removal or trees near power lines or structures. Secondly, trees near the foundation. Large trees planted close to the house or trees that have grown toward the house over the years can cause serious problems over time. Surface roots from species like silver maples are well known for cracking and lifting driveways, sidewalks, and even patios. Deeper roots can compromise foundation integrity as they seek moisture. If you're buying a home with large mature trees close to the structure, have a certified arborist evaluate them and make sure your home inspector is specifically looking at the foundation for any evidence of root-related stress. Thirdly, trees and your sewer line. This one is so important. I'm going to come back to it in the next segment, but The short version is this: willow trees, silver maples, and poplars have aggressive, wide-spreading, moisture-seeking root systems, and they will find your sewer line, water line, or anything else that has water in it. In fact, some municipalities prohibit planting willows or silver maples within 50 to 65 feet of a residence, specifically because of the root damage they cause to pipes and foundations. So keep that in mind as we move into the next topic. In addition, sidewalk and municipal liability. If a tree on your property is lifting or cracking a public sidewalk, your municipality may hold you responsible for the repair. This varies by city and town, but it's not uncommon, and sidewalk replacement can run into the thousands of dollars. Buyers should walk the sidewalk line around any home they're seriously considering and look for heaved or cracked concrete near tree lines. And here's the big financial picture on trees. Large tree removal is expensive. If a seller has a huge oak or silver maple that's been growing unchecked for 30 years and a buyer walks the property and immediately sees a problem, they're going to factor that cost into the offer or ask for a credit. A tree removal that runs $1,500 to $5,000 becomes a negotiating point. Sellers who get ahead of the problem before listing, either by removing the obstacle entirely or at least give buyers the comfort of knowing that it's been professionally evaluated. Next up, sewer lines. As I promised, this one connects directly to what I just said about trees, and it's something that is almost entirely invisible. And that's the problem: your sewer line. Your home sewer line is the underground pipe that runs from your house to the municipal sewer system. It could also run to your septic, but generally the idea is that it carries away every drop of wastewater that leaves your home. And unless something goes wrong with it, most homeowners never think about it. But here's what you need to know. Sewer lines fail. They corrode, they crack, they collapse, and as I just mentioned, one of the most common causes of sewer damage is tree roots, particularly from willows, silver maples, and poplars. Those roots don't need an invitation. They find the moisture, they find the pipe, and over time, they eventually get inside it. Older homes are especially vulnerable. Many homes built before the 1980s have clay or cast iron pipes, and those are more porous and susceptible to root intrusion. Cast iron corrodes over time. The life expectancy on these pipes is roughly 30 to 60 years, which means if you're buying an older home, that clock may already be running out. What does a sewer line repair or replacement cost? Well, clearing tree roots from a sewer line can run anywhere from a couple $100s to over $7,000, depending on the method and extent of the damage. A full sewer line replacement runs $2,000 to $10,000 for a standard residential line. And if your yard, driveway, or landscaping has to be torn up to access it, costs go higher. The single most important thing a buyer can do when purchasing a home, especially one built before 1990, is schedule a sewer scope inspection. This is a separate service from your regular home inspection. A plumber or drain specialist runs a camera through the sewer line, and it shows you exactly what's going on in there. You'll see root intrusion, you might see cracks, you might see offset joints or buildup, all of it. A sewer scope typically costs between $250 and $350, and that is honestly some of the best money spent during your home buying process. I cannot tell you how many times a sewer scope has uncovered something significant that the standard inspection would have completely missed. Now, here's the tip for the homeowners and sellers that almost no one tells you. You can add a sewer and water line endorsement to your existing homeowner's insurance policy. This might also be called a rider. Most standard homeowners policies do not cover the repair or replacement of your underground sewer or lines. That's your responsibility as the homeowner. But many insurers will add this coverage for as little as $30 to $60 a year. Think about that. For the cost of a couple coffees a month, you can have coverage for a repair that could otherwise cost you thousands, literally thousands. Call your insurance agent this week and ask about it. It takes 5 minutes and most people have never even heard of it. For sellers, if you haven't had your sewer line inspected in years, consider getting a scope done before you list. If there's a problem, wouldn't you rather know and address the issues on your terms than have it show up on the buyer's inspection and give them a major negotiating lever or a reason to walk? Lastly, retaining walls. And I saved this one for last because it's the one that has the highest potential to completely stop a transaction and hit you with possibly the biggest bill. Now, if you're buying a home that has a retaining wall on the property, or if you're a seller who has one, you need to understand what you're actually dealing with. A retaining wall is a structure built to hold back soil, usually on a slope lot, which is incredibly common here in our area, especially in neighborhoods built into hillsides or lots where there's a significant grade change. And here's the thing. When they are functioning properly, you don't even think about them. But when they start to fail, you have a very serious and possibly very expensive problem. So what does retaining wall failure look like? Well, you're looking for leaning or bowing, a wall that's no longer plumb, cracks, especially horizontal ones, which indicate the wall is being pushed from behind, drainage issues, water pooling at the base, or soil pushing through and bulging at the base. These aren't cosmetic issues. A retaining wall is a structural element, and if it fails, it can direct water toward your foundation, cause soil erosion, damage neighboring properties, and in extreme cases, create a genuine safety hazard. Now let's talk money. Retaining wall costs have an enormous range. Minor repairs, patching, sealing, drainage work might run, $1,500, couple $1,000. A full replacement, depending on material and size, can run maybe $6,000 to $40,000 or $50,000, maybe even more. And I will just tell you, I've seen quotes beyond that for significant sized walls that have failed. Now, one thing that most people don't realize going in, retaining wall repairs and replacements typically come with no warranty. If you're getting quotes, ask every contractor upfront what kind of warranty, if any, they will put in writing. And here's the financing piece sellers especially need to hear. Failing retaining walls can get flagged by appraisers, and that includes conventional appraisers, not just FHA and VA. Any appraiser working for any lender can call out a failing retaining wall as a safety or structural concern and require it to be repaired before the loan closes. Once an appraiser issues a subject to repair condition, the loan won't close until the issue gets resolved. That leaves many to sell for cash only. And here's something else that sellers overlook: permits. If you're replacing a failing retaining wall or changing the material, the design, or the footprint of an existing wall, you most likely need a permit. The general rule in Ohio is that any retaining wall over 4 feet in height requires a building permit. And in some municipalities, that threshold can be even lower depending on setbacks and location. Always check with your local building department before work begins and make sure any contractor you hire is pulling the proper permits. permits. If they tell you a permit isn't needed, get that in writing. And again, I would check with the county or whoever needs to verify that. But what should buyers do? Well, when you are walking a property that has a retaining wall, look at it critically. Is it straight? Is there evidence of water pooling near it? Has it been recently painted or patched in a way that might be covering something? If there is any doubt, ask for a structural engineer evaluation before you close. In the Cincinnati area, a structural engineer typically charges $600 to maybe $1,000 just to come out and evaluate the situation and write the report. And I know that sounds expensive, but if you start weighing that against wall replacement, it's pretty cheap insurance. Now, what should sellers do? Have your wall evaluated before you list. If there's a problem, you want to know now on your terms. A documented repaired wall is a selling point. A failing wall with no warranty, no permits is a negotiating nightmare. A financing problem and potentially a deal killer all at once. So let's bring it all together. Trees, sewer lines, retaining walls. 3 things that most people never think about, but all have one thing in common. They are almost never urgent looking until the moment they become a crisis, and by then you're dealing with the problem on somebody else's timeline. The best buyers I work with come into this process with their eyes wide open. They ask lots of questions, they order the right inspections, and they don't just look at what a home looks like today. They do look at it with what it could become. And the best sellers I work with, well, they get ahead of problems before listing. They know that a repair you make before going to market costs you money on your terms. A repair a buyer discovers in an inspection costs you money on their terms. Plus, the deal could possibly fall apart. This is the kind of information I bring to every single client relationship I have. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Cincinnati or Dayton area and you want an agent who's going to talk to you about the things that actually matter, I would love to connect with you. Scan the QR code on screen or find my contact information in the description below, and let's have a real conversation about your real estate goals. If you found this video helpful, please share it. Forward it to a friend who's thinking about making a move, or send it to a neighbor who's talking about selling. This is exactly the kind of information that people wish they had heard sooner. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.